Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Fikile M Mnisi. I am not a medical doctor nor a psychologist. Let's get that out of the way before we start with this video. I am the founder of Inkanyeti Foundation. I also have another ethical company, but today we are doing stuff for the foundation. I wanted to tell you a little story about some of the experiences that we often come across as a foundation when we are doing our support program. So part of our support, which is part of our model. So our model in the foundation is AEES. A is for awareness, E is for engagement, another E is for education or educate, and the S is for support. So we do all of these things. We bring awareness, we educate, we engage, and we support. So on the support, we often support individuals who may be struggling with mental health, or schools, or organization that call us and they have someone that needs help or support, emotional support or any other support, communities as well as families. But this support has nothing to do with money, so please don't ask us for money. We go through with the individual all the processes that they need to go through. We explain to them, so we make it easy for them, and we support the family, and we make sure that things are very smooth. If we need to take them to the hospital, we do that. So I have recently have a case of one of the young people that we often communicate with, and the school called and gave me a letter. One of these young person went to see a doctor, and apparently she's struggling with mental health. So she has anxiety and other things. And the doctor then suggested that she goes and see an educational psychologist. So for that to happen in a public school, you have to go to the district, so your nearest district for the education district. And I went to one of the nearest education districts. It was very cold on that day. We were there early in the morning. I think past 9 I was already there from somewhere else, helping another family. We got there. Firstly, when you get to this district, no one tells you where you must go. So when you find someone, you just ask them, where's this place? Where should I go? What should happen? And eventually you'll find someone who is an employer there. They will then tell you, or an employee there. They will then tell you, you must go to this room. This is where you will find it. And someone did. And we went there. We found one parent waiting outside. So you can't even, the waiting rooms are outside, literally outside. And this is very cold. Waiting outside by the corridors. And we asked her if this was where we wanted to go, where the psychologists are. And she said, yes, it is. And we asked her what's happening, because there was a lock. So a chain with a lock, locked, and it's load shedding. So it was their load shedding time or schedule. And so we waited and we waited. But I see in other rooms, there are other people coming out. So I decided, well, I'm going to go and ask. There's no point of us waiting here, and we don't know who is coming back, when are they coming back. There's no sign that says anything really. So I went to the next room and I asked them, and then they told me no, they're not here because it's load shedding. And when it's load shedding, they often go out to schools or the schools that they're working with. But I mean, all of them are going out to schools, the whole team of psychologists. They don't have someone that is doing administration. So this is one part that I was puzzled by. I was like, oh, okay. And the person that I spoke to then said, no, there are other rooms where you can find these psychologists. So go down to the other next building and find out on ground floor. So I went, got to a wrong room, but the lady there was very nice and kind. She then told me the different rooms where these psychologists sit. So they are officers. Some of the other psychologists, thinking these are like senior psychologists, because one of the psychologists that was there that day is Dr. something, so and so. And so I went to the next room. It was locked. I went to another room of the psychologist, locked. And then finally the third one had people in. I speak to these people, not aware that the guy who's sitting in a chair where it's the psychologist's chair is a parent sitting with another parent. And they've been there since, I think the guy was there since before 8 o'clock, based on his story. And the guy's child or the father's child was already inside doing assessments with the Dr. so-and-so. And so I then waited. They said, like, no, you can come in and sit and wait. So we went in and sat and wait. 2 hours later, load shedding came back. The electricity was back. A couple of the psychologists then returned miraculously within 5 minutes from wherever. So I'm not sure if they really went to schools, but they came back. And one said, oh, no, I'm going to school. I won't be able to sit and ask you guys why you are here. But she was nice, switched on the heater, and then left. And another one came and said, I'm also going to school. Another guy, psychologist. I'm also going to school. But it means they're just now going to school, not when there was load shedding. And then they went to school. And eventually the doctor so-and-so, who apparently, I don't know if she's in charge. She seems like she's in charge. Came out. So I'm there since 9:20. I think she came to see us because load shedding is 2 hours around 11 o'clock. From 8 until 10 is load shedding. But she came like an hour after load shedding. And she then spoke to a parent, gave her a consent form, which is what I want us to talk about. And that's why I mentioned my other company, which is an ethics company, or biotech and ethics company, because it's very linked to that, what I'm going to be speaking about today. She then gave them a consent form. And said to this lady who is a parent, the child is with this lady, sign here, we're going to take your child, we're going to go with your child to the next room where they do their assessments. You must just read through this document and sign. I will then sign after you've signed. And then after I'm done with your child, I will explain the document to you. So now I'm confused. And she then looks at me. She's not smiling, this lady. Not friendly at all. She looks at me. She's like, so what are you doing here? Also, see, not professional at all. What are you doing here? So I showed her the paper that I got from the school. And I said, I'm looking for... I won't have time for that. I'm not dealing with that right now. You're going to have to wait your turn. And I'm just looking for information. I have a paper. I need information from you. But you not even paying attention. So you're like, no, I don't have time. I'm very, very busy. She went. And so she comes back. 2 minutes later, she gives the father who was there a consent form. Does the same thing that she did to this lady. So now she leaves. And so I'm asking, do you know what you are signing? They're like, no, we don't. So I said to the father, did you sign this form before? Did they ask your child for what we call assent? Where the child agrees for all of these things. And the father is like, no, he's making a joke out of it. He thinks that this is nothing, right? Because this is how we have been programmed, particularly as Black people, that we just sign whatever we are given, this mindset. You don't question authority, which is wrong because you don't know what you are signing. And this is about your child's life, your child's health. Yes, your child is looking for help from the government. But they're not supposed to be treating you like that. They're supposed to follow the rules and do things as they should. So this father is like, no, but I'm the parent, so it doesn't matter. I'm like, no, it doesn't matter whether you're the parent. The child still has the right to understand what would be happening, the procedures. You as a parent must be, the consent must be explained to you. You must ask questions. And after you've asked questions and you have clarity of what you are signing, and what will happen, then you can sign. And this lady who is Dr. So-and-so, who is absolutely rude and unprofessional, was supposed to do that since they don't even have administration. And the mother then looks at me. She's like, oh, they're feeling a certain way. I'm like, no. You as parents, you're not supposed to be feeling a certain way because this is about your child's life. The government is not doing us favors. The government is not doing you favor by giving you these psychologists. If the psychologists are there, they are getting paid. It's so unfortunate that in South Africa and in Africa and Black people think that they have to be at the mercy of the government and the employers of the government, and they must treat us like we are nothing when we are seeking for help, things that they're getting paid for, and which is coming mostly from the taxes money, because this is a government, it's a public institution. And a public institution is not making money on its own. It's making money out of the tax that it's receiving from the people of that country. So therefore, they're supposed to be professional, first and foremost, they must explain consent. They can't just give you a consent form and expect you to just sign. It's even more important when we are speaking about mental health, because people who have a mental problem or mental illness, they are very vulnerable, and that makes their families or their loved ones also vulnerable. And if we have psychologists, people who are professionals, who work with these things, who studied for these things, treating our community members, treating our young children, treating their parents in this way, where is the hope? We need to start advocating for better services, especially for mental health care, whether it's in district, education district, or even in schools and hospitals, or wherever we go, even in police stations. We need to start advocating. We need to speak about these things so that something can happen. We need to bring changes to such services for the people who are struggling with mental illnesses or mental problems, as well as their loved ones. People cannot be treated with such disregard as if they are nothing. So I wanted to say that, I wanted to highlight this, because this is an experience that I got. And also I don't understand why a full-on education district does not have administration. I mean, isn't what they do in public institution, all they do is just administration, admin. So why don't we have an admin in this district, people who can ask questions? I mean, I waited for a full 3 to 4 hours just to be told that I need to go to another doctor at another hospital who often deals with these cases from schools. That took only like 2 seconds, and I waited there for 4 hours, and the person who was there and could have helped me did not do that. She was also rude in front of patients. So this is something that we need to now start talking about. Never sign a consent form after you've been done an assessment. If you're a parent, don't let your child be to go through an assessment when you're going to this district education district for their psychologist. Before you sign a consent, you must sign a consent. They must speak to your child. They must give you information about what you are signing. They must tell you the procedure that will happen, and then sign that consent form after you've also asked questions and you've made sure that your child is comfortable, whether or not your child takes drugs or whatever it may be. No. And then once that has happened, then you can sign that consent. Then your child must be taken for assessment. That's the procedure. Please hold these professionals to they are part of their bargain. They need to do these things. They must be professionals, and they must not come out not smiling, telling you they are hungry, they are like this. That is unprofessional. That's not what they studied for. If they are hungry, they can go and eat and take lunch, but they can't be taking lunch while you are sitting there watching them eat. No, those things should never happen. They mustn't be telling you that they've got too much work because there's so many of you that are coming. That is also unprofessional, and our government institutions need to do something about these things and change these things. We can't have people who have mental illnesses being stressed. We had a child that came afterwards who is autistic. He was highly stressed with the situation that was happening and how this woman was like. So this is a big no-no. And today is our last day of Mental Health Awareness Month here in South Africa. So I wanted to do this video. I wanted you to be aware of such things and for us to do something and bring changes to our mental health care system in South Africa holistically. The police stations, our hospitals, our education district, even in our schools and universities. Thank you so very much. Until next time, goodbye.